One customer related point, which actually one of the dealers has shared with us, pure EV dealers, is the company is providing a kind of a state of charge for the battery, you
Yes.
know, but the customer wants a distance to empty in terms of kilometers,
Yes.
right? So I understand that there will be some algorithm changes involved in that. So is that something which the company is working on or proposes to work on?
So actually, we have filed two scientific patents on this SOC prediction. Actually, so we are waiting for the patents to be granted. And on the other hand, parallelly, we are working on this algorithm in the prototype devices also. But I would say it is going to take minimum 6 months kind of timelines to get it implemented at the client level, because the way algorithm has to work, because we have seen many companies have done it, but still from the client perspective, there was never satisfaction. Even when we talk about the competitor models, I'm not just in two-wheeler, like four-wheeler, we have seen. So the algorithm, because here the way if I have the liberty, I can explain the cell level chemistry also, how the algorithm has to be linked. So what happens at the cell chemistry level is the way it works is it's not just a electrical kind of circuit actually. So there is a lot of thermal chemistry involvements are there, depending on the internal layer temperatures, the C ratings, discharge and the charge C rates, and at that particular temperature and particular conditions, actually, the capacity gets varied. Actually, it's not just the voltage I'm talking about, so a lot of other parameters also which gets built into it. So because if Pure EV wants to work on this algorithm, we want to work beyond, because whatever we are doing so far, we are playing. I mean, let me confess it also, whatever is available to the client so far, it is earlier we used to work on a linear kind of algorithm, voltage based only. Now we are working on a non-linear algorithm, again voltage based only. We could not achieve, we did not implement something beyond that. So now what we want to do is we want to fundamentally take a different approach, because if the accuracy has to come in terms of kilometers. So it is, so whatever, when we talk about torque, kmph and the power, all these are gets into the C rating of the cell level. Then the other thing is based on the SOC, because based on the SOC, the internal resistance varies actually. Then the third parameter is temperature. So how do I read these parameters? Because these are internal cell level or battery level parameters. So that is where first we want to work on a subsystem level. How do I read these parameters? Through BMS, through the controller. Then while reading these parameters, do I have any other communication issues? Because the issue is by solving one problem, we should not create another problem for the client actually, from the user experience. So that is what definitely we are going to take time on this. One is two patents, scientific patents we have filed. So we want to wait for them, and parallelly we are implementing also in the prototype devices. So maybe in 6 months timeline we can anticipate. I'm being optimistic. Yeah. And with the clients that definitely the EV clients today in the market, definitely they deserve much better user experience on this particular state of charge display as well as the kilometer.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you see, range anxiety is the biggest problem facing the
biggest problem, yeah.
Correct. And if you can get a slightly even better prediction of the range, it's going to make life easier for EV adoption in general.
Completely agree.
So let's move on to the battery. One very generic question to you, Nishantji. You chose to go with the nickel, manganese, cobalt chemistry, whereas you have a lot of people who are also choosing to go with the lithium iron phosphate chemistry.
Yes.
So could you just tell us the rationale as to why you decided to go in with NMC versus LFP?
So NMC, as a company level, at Pure Energy level, we had been using LFP as some of people out there in the market, they know the background of the company, that we were offering into energy storage solutions through LFP batteries. So our association with LFP is much higher than NMC, when it comes to the battery technology or the overall manufacturing assembly capabilities. So LFP, the way we view it is it is so far whatever the studies we have done internally and the installations we have done in the solar as storage projects. So there it is good for up to certain type of discharge rates actually. So the best part with the LFP is the from the thermal runaway perspective, it is one of the best, like in terms of like the temperature at which it has to go thermal runaway is like 150 degrees, while NMC like it can range from 90 to 110 degrees. So in terms of storage projects, when there is a very study oriented charging and discharging, especially discharging rates, which are possible in the storage market or backup kind of scenarios, that is where we preferred LFP. And another game is like here the storage and the weight, because the charging infrastructure today is not available at all in the country today. So the portability of the battery, at least for next 3 to 5 years, is going to play a significant role. And as you said, range anxiety, like people, when we offer 50-60 kind of kilometers range in high speed vehicles, people will not go for the adoption, like when that, because on an average two-wheeler user, and per day, like he flies around 30 kilometers on an average. Someone may do 20, someone may do 40. When you give a range of 50-60 kilometers, if you want to keep portable battery with LFP, like 1.6, 1.8 kWh, let me take the reference of 7G vehicle only. 7G vehicle. So maximum 1.6, 1.8 kWh is what I can keep to keep it portable within the same volume of a 2.5 kWh of NMC battery. So one problem I have is like very high discharge rate, pulse rates, like which are like very sporadic, non fluctuating and all. So there, like we found at chemistry level itself, the LFP is not the right choice at this juncture for the kind of supply chain what we have. And NMC is whatever the 3C, 5C rated cells we are using. So there we found better capabilities in terms of the discharge rate. The other thing is the portability, like in terms of weight and volume. So it occupies 50 to 60% weight and volume. And the thermal problems, like we have tackled earlier also. Now that is one big R&D achievements the company is going to already have actually, and people will see it as a surprise only, like those kind of new batteries every month, every 2 months, those kind of upgradations are happening at the BMS level, the packaging materials level. Very strategic tie-ups also we have done with companies like GE Plastic, Dow Chemicals, and many more companies to improve the thermal performance. And almost like 10 to 20% kind of range improvements we are able to achieve. Not only the safety factors, but life cycle improvements and the range improvements also. So we felt when we are able to, when have these R&D and design capabilities where we can offer a BMS, thermal management systems, which can give safety as well as other features also in NMC. That is where we chose NMC over LFP. And but that does not mean that like we have not taken LFP as one of the options. So there the works are going on at the internal company level. The capabilities are higher, longer compared to NMC. When this kind of charging infrastructure is available in the country where the user says that, I don't need a portable battery. So definitely we will take a call between NMC versus LFP.
Okay, so one alternate way of looking at it, Nishantji, is to give the choice to the customer. So you give him a choice of an NMC and an LFP technology. Of course, it means additional inventory and technology hurdles for you. But in such a situation, would it not be best for the customer to make that choice?
Sir, actually, you're right that we should leave a choice to the customer. But when you see the evolution of any automotive product which has evolved into the market, actually, so there was never a product being offered like with too much diversified in the technology. Actually, it's as you said about the inventory, like batteries have to be there, like in terms of serviceability. This BMS will be entirely different to the other BMS actually. The overall production, everything has to go in a different way actually. And when already I said because we are one company and me as a founder of Pure EV, with many dealers, like with you can also personally check with whomsoever the dealers I've interacted, always I've told them and cautioned them the industry is just started to get evolved. The supply chain is still in the premature stage actually. So we cannot just take a call from one shift to another just because like we have done some testing for internal 1-2 months, 15 days kind of thing. So here the chance of going wrong is very, very high. when we move too fast actually. So we can offer, I mean, just from tomorrow onwards, like, we can make an LFP battery because we have the capabilities, as I said, even till today, as people know, like, we offer storage batteries for many applications. That is a different business line the company is having since 3-4 years. For many corporate companies, we have offered, like, for data center kind of projects, very complex projects we have offered. So the capabilities are there, but is it proven on these kind of high speed powertrains? What is the failure? Because I don't want to comment, what is the failure rate of LFP batteries in the two-wheeler. You yourself can check, sir. The failure rates are very, very high in the three-wheeler and two-wheeler, and the failure rate is higher than the NMC actually. It's nothing to do with the cell chemistry. It's a misfit for the kind of powertrain design what we are having. And from the user expectations also, people, let's say 7G 60 kmph is there, 0 to 40 kmph is achieving in less than 5 seconds, and we are offering a range of 90 kilometers, where people are also claiming, and Plug in India is one of the witnesses also of few clients where they've shared that they got 80-kilometer range, 85, 90, 95, 100, 105. So different case studies we have. Even 110 also we have heard range kind of things in all these sports mode. But all the time client says, sir, like dil mange more, like और speed बढ़ा और range दे दो, like हमें 120 चाहिए, 150 चाहिए. So we are thinking, like how do I improve myself? I increase my torque from 12 Newton meter to 16 Newton meter? How do I improve the quality of my switches? How do I improve the quality of the powder coating elements on all the metallic items? How do I improve my seat length? So it's not just this one element, because the moment we are making many changes, the battery and powertrain design is also has to be improved. The moment we go from 2.5 kWh as a 2.5 kWh as a capability increase, or like 2.7, 2.8, so further volume, further weight, like is my infrastructure ready? Like I cannot believe some infrastructure getting ready because by seeing statements from the paper actually, because they have to be on ground as well. Because I have seen many news articles saying thousands of lakhs of charging stations are getting erected, but practically is the client saw them, like every 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, do they have charging stations? The answer is no. Like I don't need to say, like the dealers and the clients itself, they can tell it. So the call we have to take more from the sustainability perspective, sir. Yes, the demanding client, he is right. Like yes, he should have been given an option. But as a OEM, whatever the element we want to give to the client and dealer, it has to be sustainable, and it should be tomorrow in terms of service, warranty, and replacement. There should not take too much of time actually. And we as a company, we want to lose certain sales actually today and gain the brand tomorrow actually.
Okay. Right. So is there any field data about how many of the batteries are actually removed for charging? So if there are 100 customers, how many of them actually remove their battery and how many are in situ charging? Because the portability is one thing which you're kind of.
So currently, see, people who live in dedicated houses, like, so they're through a window also, like, he can keep the external port charging actually. He doesn't need to bring the vehicle inside or, like, battery inside. So houses, so 99% of the cases, people who are living in, who bought 7G in towns or even tier 2 cities actually, who have individual houses, they're able to charge the battery by keeping it in the vehicle only. But 70-80% of the case studies now, even the apartments have started coming in the smaller towns also, like G+3, G+4. It's not an apartment, but he's living as a rented kind of tenant in some owner's house, like he's living on first floor, second floor, where these kind of charging ports are also not available. So almost more than 80%, like they remove the battery and keep it for charging in their veranda, or like outside the house or inside the house. And 20%, I can say 15 to 20% is like they are keeping inside the vehicle actually. And although they are keeping inside the vehicle, but they still want the portability, because they know that, like when they go somewhere else, they want to remove the battery in the office or somewhere else. We have case studies where whenever we do these kind of regular calls, we ask them, do you take out the battery when you go to office and put it for charging? And many clients said yes, our offices allow us to keep the, like, because his laptop is allowed for charging, his mobile phone is allowed for charging. Most of the offices are allowing, like, although the amount of power these batteries consume is very high, but it's good that the office are allowing the batteries to get charged inside the offices. So even out of that 20%, I think 50%, 60% still want the portability to be there, because the scenarios are there where they need to remove the battery.